Welcome to AI Growth Machines. I'm Joel Horowitz. I'm the founder and CEO. We're having these webinars every week so I can kind of share the latest and greatest from Center Media that the team is building. So again, just to remind you of who we are and what we do. We are building an AI that can do media buying across every major ad platform. And we're bringing the best frontier models to bear, including Opus or Sonnet, GPT 5.5, Gemini Pro, etc., so that you can build excellent campaigns. And more recently, we're starting to roll out autonomous agents that will and can, we've already demonstrated this with a number of clients, can essentially run your campaigns autonomously. And so, for example, like quite recently, we had a new customer join us who basically was running on only two primary channels, namely Google and LinkedIn. They shared with us that they were seeing a very high cost per opportunity. Their sales-led growth business. And we recommended, well, rather, Cinter recommended some additional channels. They can go out on like Reddit, Microsoft, Bing actually has some good search inventory that goes to IT buyers, which is one of their ICPs. And so this customer, all they had to do was go to, in fact, I can show you. So if you go to centermedia.ai here, I'm going to share this tab instead. Hopefully you can see this. And let me just double check that you guys can see this. Okay. So yeah. So basically, you can see this is Center here. You can just go over to settings, and you can just connect your accounts here. So for example, I can connect Google AdWords here. So I just go in and click my account. It uses OAuth, and so we're not using our developer token necessarily. We're using yours. And so when you log into Google AdWords on your side, so Wheels is a client of ours, I mentioned before, I'm managing their account. Now it's connected. It's really that simple. I mean, that took a few moments to do it. As you can see, you have Microsoft, LinkedIn, and a number of others. X is one of the more promising ad platforms of late. It's actually really quite exciting. Oh, let me share this screen. Sorry about that. So you can see Google's now connected, Meta, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snap, Pinterest, Amazon, X, Microsoft, Reddit, and the list goes on. And then also for this session, we're going to be talking about how you can basically connect your CRM. In this case, we use Adio. I need to update this logo. I don't think that's their logo anymore. But you can basically use Adio or any CRM to create audiences for your campaigns, which is really quite nice. Yeah, Snap, as I mentioned. And it's not just ads. So to run a successful, campaign, Cinter, the agent, really needs to understand its performance. So from a, web analytics perspective with Google Analytics, from a pixel tracking, right? They want to be able to make sure that the pixels are firing, and so that's why we have Google Tag Manager. And so this client, all they really did was they came in, they connected, their Google Ads, Reddit, and LinkedIn, right? And also they connected Google Tag Manager, and then they also connected HubSpot right down here. You can connect HubSpot, Pipedrive, Salesforce. We also support mixed mail heap segment. And so then I was able to basically pull their audience from HubSpot, and based on where, look at the contacts who, maybe had gone quiet, right? So started ghosting their sales team, so kind of close loss, not due to like any sort of real reason, right? But actually they just maybe lost interest because we're all very busy. We also support e-commerce, Klaviyo, Shopify, Webflow, etc. So really quite a capable platform. We've also rolled out, landing pages as we talked about. So also like a big part of this is essentially if you are wanting to run a successful campaign, these days it helps to have a very personalized or customized landing page so that you can drive conversions, right? And a lot of times, marketers, rather paid media, and growth marketers don't necessarily have access to their website and can't create, quick landing pages there necessarily. And so to solve that, we built this in. All you really need to do is write in your custom domain. And then basically you can just point your CNAME at Center, and we'll automatically create those landing pages on your custom domain. So that's quite nice in terms of doing that. So coming back to integrations, excuse me, like I said, you connect these things, and that's it. And so generally what I'll do with new clients is I'll say, hey, just connect your accounts. When you sign up for Center Media, you'll also notice in your team settings, you can invite your team members here and give them different privileges. So if you don't really want them, making edits to your campaigns, you can set them to viewer only mode, so they can still view and ask the agent questions, but it won't allow that viewer to execute campaigns. Or if they're a member, they can fully, execute campaigns and make changes, but they can't necessarily make changes to the team members or the connections necessarily. And so for that, you'll want to be an admin. So we added this role-based access control. And one more, I think, kind of killer feature is I get a lot of questions about, what are some of the, best practices when running ads. For sure, I would say if you're just starting out, you're going to want to limit and block certain countries. Unfortunately, they have a reputation, and frankly, not just that, but they've demonstrated that there tends to be more, frankly, bots that come from certain parts of the world, unfortunately, for whatever reasons. So I've kind of added this level of tiering. You can actually tier by platform. We're continuing to roll this out, but it's a pretty nice way. You can always, bring them back in if you really want to, and override this system. But these are the types of default settings that we have to help you avoid making those common mistakes of burning your budget on prospects or audiences that aren't really a fit for your product ICP. So I think that's pretty cool. And then one more thing I'd want to point out before we kind of get into the nuts and bolts of this is that you can also use Center outside of the native platform here. I actually do that quite a bit, because we have an MCP, and the thought has crossed my mind, well, maybe I should allow people to add their MCPs inside of Center. I'll think about it, but realistically, Center is really meant for marketers predominantly, more so than hackers, if you will, or do-it-yourselfers. But you can use the MCP server outside of Center, and so you can actually come in here, create a new window like this. So you can go to CD Works, CD Center Media, and then we can go. I like using Claude, dangerously skip permissions, because I like to live on the edge, and so yeah, you can use either plan here. Yep, we're going to use my Center organization, authorize Claude here. Then we'll come back to this screen. Bear with me. 1 second. I'm sorry. Nope. I'm almost there. Bear with me. I'm sorry. Just lost my screen for a moment. I think it's here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we logged in. That's fine. So now, if you click MCP, we can see some of the things I've connected here, which interestingly enough. But you see Center's connected there. I can also connect, I'll use Linear as well, of course, to create issues for the team. I use Gmail, Pencil. If you haven't heard of Pencil, it's pretty great. You can connect directly to the ad platforms as well. Notion is also great. It's really good if you want to kind of keep track of things there. And you can see we have quite a few different MCPs connected. This is kind of squirrely today. I don't know why Claude's that way. But anyways, so since it's Center MCPs connect, I can do things like create an audience for a new meta campaign using our ATIO, using contacts in ATIO who are not already a customer using the Center. I don't know if I have to say this, but it doesn't hurt. So you can do it via Claude Code. You can also do this via Claude Desktop. I can show you both. which works really, really well. But yeah, like I said, like once you connect, Center MCP, or excuse me, once you connect your accounts to Center in the UI over there, then it gives you unfettered access, right? Secure access. Don't get me wrong, to all of your accounts. And so yes, like you can connect. I actually just wrote a blog about this today. Once you connect your accounts in Center Media, then you can connect to to Center. So pretty simply, just click authentication. It's going to open up the browser. As long as you're logged into your Center account, it should open this up here. That's great. So it's authenticated. Let's try this one more time. Yeah, it's look, it's some people say, oh, that's a pain. Like if I just have things stored locally, then I don't need to go through all this. Yeah, it's true, but then again, it's secure, right? So security first, right? That's our motto, like making sure that your connections are quite secure. And long story short, yeah, like I said, you can manage this all locally. You can do it yourself if you're a coder, and if you're an aspiring, vibe coder or growth hacker, you can do it yourself, no question. Yet, if you work with a team, it becomes quite tricky to manage this across multiple members, and so you're sharing tokens, and people get themselves into trouble, right? Because if you're sharing a developer token, this is actually how some people get blocked from ad platforms, right? Because you're sharing a developer token for the same ad platform, and Meta is pretty aggressive when it comes to this. Google as well, if they see you, and X actually I've noticed as well, are pretty aggressive in terms if they see multiple users using the same developer token. And so when you log in and you authenticate with Center, you basically you basically will see that you can have multiple accounts, and those accounts that you authenticate into are connected to individuals, right? And so if I connect to Google AdWords in Center, it'll be Joel's connection, right? If Youthkey on my team, if she connects to Google AdWords, it'll be Youthkey's account. And so when she goes in, like I'm doing now, to create a campaign, it'll show up in Google AdWords when you go into the audit trail, if you will, or the audit, changelog. Excuse me. It will actually show. It will actually show up as not Center created this campaign, right? It'll actually show up as Youthkey created this campaign via API. And so yeah, I think it's a good debate that we're having around do it yourself, whether you need this kind of tool or not. But the bottom line is that, look, I'm just trying to remove the pain of managing this for you all. I saw that for example, Meta yesterday released their CLI, and I was looking at that, and that's great, like if you're just only doing Meta. But like I said, if I want to now, like it's right now, it's pulling this audience from Adio, and it's sending it to Meta using our execution tool, and it's interesting because then I can use the same audience on say LinkedIn, or I can use the same audience on Google, and or on X, or on Reddit. And so you can do this once, or you can and use it multiple times, or you can do this over and over again, kind of recreate the wheel. So while that's doing that, I'm going to go back over here to Center Media. Are there any questions? I don't know if we have. I see that there's a handful of people that have joined. So feel free to ask questions as I'm going along, because quite honestly, like I'm here to answer your questions. So coming back to this screen, so that's kind of like a quick look at how you could use this in Claude Code. So like I said, like you just copy this, you create an API key down here, or it'll get auto-generated if you just do what I did and like OAuth in, like I just did. What's also nice is you also have a pixel inspector, so you can install that on Chrome, and so you can also check if your pixels are installed. Conversions are a big deal. Like I don't think people fully appreciate this capability. I think a lot of people just gloss over this. I've built a pretty robust system that if you install the Center Media AI pixel on Google Tag Manager, it'll do what's called a fan out and use and also install pixels server side as well, which is really quite nice. And so, like, for example, a lot of deeper conversion events like purchases, right, or booking a demo, tend to be behind, the sign up, firewall, if you will. And so if you're running a campaign where you want to drive subscriptions, for example, right, and you have like say Stripe or other things, you're going to want server-side tracking, right, and use what's called the CAPI, which is Conversion API ability on a lot of these platforms. So really, what's going on is it's kind of a light CDP. I mean, if you have Google Tag Manager, it's really easy. You can just add this function here. It has directions there, and that'll allow you to get really, really good signal for Google and for your campaigns, because otherwise you're wasting a lot of money, quite frankly, right, on your campaigns. And so don't do that, right? And so we've built this system where you can do that. And what's also cool about this is the agent is also making sure that your UTMs are getting added. So like, and this is, you can adjust, a lot of people track UTMs like differently. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with skills, the idea of skills for agents. But skills are basically like the instruction manual for the agent. So you don't have to basically prompt engineer, every time. And so let me see where it is. Is it here? Let me see. Tracking. Yeah, right here. So we invented kind of a UTM taxonomy. You can always upgrade and then create your own UTM skill, if you will. I didn't mean that to rhyme, but it's kind of fun that it did. But you can always update that here. And that's quite nice, because then the agent will always add UTMs to your destination URLs. And why that matters is because then you can go back into your CRM later and actually have strong attribution, which is nice. So you can see, okay, like for example, so check this out. So then once you use UTMs, and here we go, that's better. Okay, so you can see, like for example, this sign up source I got to fix. There's saying clerk, but obviously clerk is not a source. We can actually, I think we can hide this. Yeah, let's just hide that. So now you can see like the source. So you got like Microsoft, TikTok is doing well, Meta. And so I can see exactly, here in ADIO where these contacts are coming from. And then the other thing I built is an ICP score, right? So based on, frankly, what their title, their role, the company, right? I can say, okay, is this a good fit for Center or not? As well as, we can detect, based on, maybe some of their activity inside of the product, right? And this is all anonymized, but like you can kind of see, some things. So you got Google, right? And so on. So yeah, it's pretty nice to be able to do that, right? Because then you can then basically have the full view. And this is all baked into Center. Like if you connect HubSpot or ADIO and use Center tracking, then you'll get this essentially for free, right? And it gets into a little bit of like the marketing ops. By the way, I'm a little bit quiet today, and I'm calling in not from my normal studio at home. I'm traveling for a conference here called Possible, as well as Tech Week here, Miami Week. It's been really great. I'm learning a lot. There's so much surface area for advertising, and so yeah, it's been really great to learn from all of these incredible advertisers that are here, and brands and agencies, and it's really quite interesting because we're really early, I think, when it comes to agentic operations for media and for all things relevant to ads. But you can see what's confirmed. So Center is also going through some growing pains, but it's getting there. You can also do it natively here, just as I showed you in Claude Code. And then the other thing I want to show you really quick, because I know we're going to run out of time, so it understands number one. So it's going to go and we've been working on the agents intelligence now. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I'm going to show you one other thing really fast, if I may. I think it's this one right here. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Yeah, that's one. So here's an example of a report. I'm just going to share my whole screen. Bear with me one more second. I'm sorry. There was another one. I wanted to show, is it this one? Yeah, like you can do, you can create some, let me show my whole screen, whole screen here, entire screen, there we go. So like you can create, like this is a real report, which is pretty nice. This was created in Claude desktop. So like if you go into like Claude here, we can go like this. You can kind of see like, you know, what this looks like. So you can do the same thing here, and then it can also generate, you know, report externally, which can be quite nice. So I can open this back up again. Here's a beautiful report that it created. So this is just using, you know, the Center MCP server. So for example, if I click the plus sign here, I look at my connections. I don't see my Center connection here. Oh, there it is. So right here, this is Center. The way I added this, you go to add connector. And so for us, we're going to be a custom connector here. And so you can basically look for Center. No, we're not in that one yet. Let me see something. But anyways, you can see it's there. But yeah, once you have it connected, like for example, you're gonna just say pull my meta with Center, and it'll just do it, which is pretty great. And so yeah, so that's kind of what it'll look like. It's really quite nice. And so yeah, it'll just pull in using Center's MCP. It's always interesting, like the surface areas, right, of using Claude Desktop, you know, versus like OpenAI's ChatGPT. So I built an app into GPT, and it's different. OpenAI's ChatGPT is less analytical. I should say it's less analytical. It doesn't focus on, to me, it doesn't seem to focus on reporting as much as it does more like, you know, more like a deeper analysis of of strategy. And so this is why we've kind of in Center Media, we've kind of mixed the two to be able to do both. And so while this is running, I'm going to swing back and check on how Center Media is doing again. Again, are there any questions? I see there's a handful of people online. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions yet or not. But yeah, this is basically what I wanted to share today. Yeah, we're still working on it. I mean, I think, you know, I'm sure some people might be like, oh, you know, the product doesn't work or it's buggy. Well, yeah, it has its moments, but the truth is that it's all very new for all of us, and I feel like it's better to build out in the open and be very transparent about, you know, some of the challenges that we have versus just kind of like hand waving. But you know, we're working with a number of really great design partners who are very patient as we kind of work through some of these challenges, but we're growing like crazy, and there's some really, you know, great use cases and great results that we've generated for our clients. If you're interested in working with us, please do reach out and let me know. And in the meantime, yeah, that's pretty much what I had to show today. Just kind of give you a quick update on how this work. I'm not sure, Yuki, if we have any other questions or comments or concerns. Oh, by the way, yeah, here, let me show this one more time. So like, again, this is, whoopsies. This is the, let me share my screen here. Screen, entire screen, yes. Right, so this is what I mentioned before. So like I said, I just had, you know, since Center's an MCP and Cloud Desktop, you can see the breakdown. I mean, this is up until yesterday. You can see that we're getting a really nice cost per lead. And this is for Center itself. You know, these are the campaigns that are running, you know, and it can drill down. Yep, drill down into ad level. You know, we can also look at competitors. So another neat, actually, I'm going to share this as well. I know I go all a little bit off script from time to time. But the other thing, I don't know if I think I added this to the MCP server, but I'll double check, is that we can also do competitive intel. So can you use Center to analyze competitors to centermedia.ai to see where they are running on Meta and their like creatives, right? So there you go. There's like the ad breakdown's pretty good. So it'll just go. I'm going to stop this guy because it'll just go forever. But not only can you do the analysis, but you can actually just like execute, right? So like I kind of jumped past that part. But in reality, not only that, you can also look at discovering Meta's ad library, alternative solution. Yeah, it's looking to see what Center can do. Let's see if it. Let's see. I'm gonna have to be more specific. Let's use add intel to find our. See, it's doing both. So what's cool is I have Gauge with Gauge. I don't know if you guys know who with Gauge is, but pretty slick. So now it's combining, MCP servers, right? That's a really cool feature of Claude Desktop, I have to say, because then it allows you. I'm gonna pause this though because I want to try it just using our competitive tool. Let's see. Sorry, it's getting way too generic. Center MCP should have add intel search. Let's see. I added this recently. I don't know if I updated the MCP to support it yet. I know it's available inside of Center Media, so just bear with me. Let's see. So it's going to check what tools we have. I don't know why it calls it scripts, so it's really tools. But yeah, Claude Desktop's neat because it combines, like I said, different tools. Interesting. Okay, do that. So it did find competitor ad multi-platforms. Let's see. So it's going to execute that. Okay, let's see what it does. While it's doing that, I'll come back and show you that in a moment. But yeah, hey Adam, yeah, go ahead. Campaign data from several channels. Yeah, I can do that. Let me show that now here, Adam. Good call. Good shout out. Okay, so let me do that here. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Entire screen. Yep. And so now we can say pull, use Center MCP to pull all of my ad performance across all active channels for Center Media. I don't know if I have to be that descriptive, but it certainly helps, right? And I actually published a manual on this. So if you go to centermedia.ai/manual, like this, did I spell that right? Manual? How do you spell manual? I think that's how you spell manual, like that. I'm going right this way. Sometimes you look at a word and you're like, oh man, I don't know if I spelled that right. Anyways, it's this one. If you go here, you can then basically see a lot of example prompts. It's a pretty useful, I think, resource of how to work with AI agents, right, actively. And so it's gonna pulled all of that. So it found Google. It's gonna pull Google. Probably pull Meta. There you go. There's Meta. I think I have some LinkedIn running. Some TikTok is running. Some X is running. There's a bunch. Like I have 10 active channels. So, I don't know. Like as an individual growth marketer, I don't know if it'd even be possible without Center to run campaigns across all of these channels as a individual. I mean, I just think I think that's an impossibility, quite frankly. So like Center can do that, right? Which is pretty wild when you really think about it. Let's let this run for a moment. In the meantime, let me see something. So you can always open this up and see what it's doing. Yeah, so it's pulling, like I said, LinkedIn, Reddit, X, TikTok, yep, Spotify, Microsoft, so this will pull in. You can see the details here. Confirm. Okay, that's fine. I don't know what it's asking that for, but okay. We'll click allow for Snap. I don't think I'm running any Snap ads. Pinterest. I don't think I'm running any Pinterest either. So that's why it's throwing an error because I don't have any campaigns running there. I don't think. So check this out. So now it's going to build the dashboard. I don't think 16 million impressions. That's pretty wild. PMax is doing pretty well. We have a few campaigns running there. We're spending quite a lot on Google, a bit on Meta, LinkedIn, less so. I do mostly like brand stuff on LinkedIn. I don't really do like lead gen on LinkedIn as much as I don't know. Maybe other people have found success with LinkedIn. Personally, I have not, and so I tend to Google's still kind of the main engine for us at the moment, but I don't suspect that'll be the case forever. So it's just kind of going through this. X, this is a known issue. I talked to X yesterday, talked to Jamie, and she told me that, yeah, they're having issues with their reporting API. So this isn't a center issue. This is it's a known X challenge at the moment. So just be aware of that. If you're running into those issues with X, that's a real thing. So yeah, we're seeing a pretty good response across our channels. So yeah, Reddit, I don't know why it says zero tracked. I got to check to see why. This sometimes could just be a reporting issue, but Reddit is showing, yeah, pretty good clicks. I got to check on the conversion tracking. Nice, we got TikTok working, so that's a little expensive. I got to narrow in the audience on TikTok. We launched Microsoft, and people don't believe me when I tell them that Microsoft is still a pretty good channel. You know, we're seeing a pretty good one. LinkedIn, we're paused. X is not reporting. So what's it saying? It's saying, okay, here's, you know, what's working, what needs attention. I don't know why it says there's zero track conversions, but we'll look into it. Sometimes that's more of a reporting issue. So then we could say, let's see right now has Sonnet. We can actually switch this, which is kind of fun. So let's do Opus 4.7. What do you recommend we do for our campaigns? So it's kind of fun because now like Claude Desktop has all of this data. If I was running on Amazon ads, we could actually ask it about Amazon ads. Whatever you can do in Claude Desktop, you can also basically do in Center Media. So it's kind of looking at this. It's talking about scaling Google and Microsoft search. Yeah, I'd agree. I might shift more campaign. So let's do this. What's kind of interesting is let's shift budget away from Google PMax and instead move it to Microsoft. And I mean, you could literally execute this, right? And so since Sensor Media is connected, I can do things like this and just say, okay, shift budget away from Google PMax until we kind of batten down. I think we're getting a lot of conversions that are actually more like CTA clicks. So I got to go and fix that a little bit. That's why I see such a high conversion rate. So it's a little aggressive on that side. But so in the meantime, I think Microsoft actually has less expensive inventory, and I've been telling our clients this, and this is kind of the proof. So you can go ahead and shift, some budget over to Microsoft and see if it's a different audience. Microsoft tends to be, people who are using like Internet Explorer and Windows machines, and I find them to be, it's interesting, like a more hardcore, not hardcore, but like more concentrated, group of people. So I think it's kind of interesting. It's a different audience, right? I mean, I'm sure everyone would agree that, Mac users are different, or Apple Mac users are different than, Microsoft, what do they call it? Surface users. So anyway, so this is gonna actually execute. So it's saying, quick gut check. How much do I want to shift? It's at 150. Let's drop to 100 and move the 50 remaining to Microsoft. It's just like plain English. So I don't have to log in, to Google or Microsoft and make these edits, right? It's a pretty nice way to live, I got to tell you. So this is the core. I went off and was kind of trying to show some ADIO stuff. That's still very, in development. It does work. It's just having some issues today, but at the heart of it, this type of workflow that I'm showing right now, right, whether you're using Claude Desktop or you're in Center Media itself, the idea that I can review my campaigns this quickly and make these adjustments is pretty freaking great. I don't know about you, but I just love it. It's a much better way to live than trying to go into the Microsoft and decreasing there, increasing here, and it's great. And like I said at the top of the call, where we're headed is a lot of this, what I'm finding here, a lot of these types of things, our OpenClaw instance, I call him Sam, he's actually able to do a lot of this himself. And so he'll look at this and do that. Oh no. What was it before? Let's increase Microsoft budget to 100 per day as well, and unpause. So it does a little bit of checks just to make sure, just to make sure that, we get the setup. So we put a lot of guardrails in here, right? Frankly, just to make sure that, you don't accidentally break things. But yeah, I mean, it did the Google thing super quick. If you don't believe me, we can go into Google here, google.com AdWords. And I think what's cool about this is, like I said before, is there you go. So if we go to campaigns, and there's PMax, look, see, $100. It just changed it, right? So it's immediate, right? It's an immediate change. And then what I was showing you before is in the change history. Oh, this is annoying. In the change history, you see how it comes up as Joel at Center AI changed this via the Google API, right? And so that's a nice thing. You won't see Center, the agent changing this. So it'll change this kind of on your behalf, which is really quite nice. So anyways, like it's real. Like this absolutely changes it, very quickly. And so, that's the proof. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. And we eat our own dog food over here, as they say, and so, yeah, it works really quite well. Hopefully, Adam, that shows you a pretty good example, like top to bottom, of how you can, center to do that. Let me check on another thing here. Okay, yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty much at time. I think this has been a pretty great webinar, honestly. I know, like I said, we're a startup, and so we're constantly improving the agents, and it's always a work in progress. But boy, like once we, like you can see, like the core function works amazingly well, because you can just review your campaign status and make these types of shifts in budget, based on what the agent says. But it's a really nice way to execute, I have to say. And like I said, once we add the autonomy piece, it's going to be even better. But without that, unless there's any other questions, I'd be happy to kind of cut you loose. And next week we'll go into. Let me check the schedule. 1 second. Let me share my screen actually, because I think it's quite cool. Bear with me. So next week, here we go. So next week, if I go to Center Media, so these landing pages, by the way, are all made with Center as well. So I think that's kind of cool. So you can create landing pages inside. So this was made with Center. So next week, what day is it? It's the 30th. Yeah, so we started doing some retargeting automation. I didn't really get too far along that path. But I think you can kind of get the idea of how you do that. You can make it pull an audience from ADIO, pull an audience from HubSpot, and then drop them into a Google, retargeting campaign or other platform, to retarget Meta, etc. This one's good. ABM with job posting intent data. Yeah, we can do this one next week. This one's pretty fun. I might see if I can get maybe Anthony or someone or Sam from Sumble to join us in a couple of weeks here to talk about Sumble and what they're doing, because frankly, it's a great product if you haven't used Sumble as well. I mean, all of this, we don't live in a vacuum. So like, as you notice, like I use Gauge, I use Sumble, I use a lot of really great MCP servers that are out there and products. And so Sumble is really good at pulling jobs data, right? And so, and it goes deep, man. And so like, if you have a very specific ICP, like maybe you're selling an agentic, infrastructure, kind of service, right? Like, I don't know, like Exabase, right? Which does like agentic memory. Maybe you want to look for people who are hiring, for AI engineers. I don't know if that's what you call it or not, but looking for people with those types of skills, and it mentions agentic memory, then that's a really good target list for your company if you're like Exabase or something like that. So we'll go into that next week. I'll try to tighten this up. Like I said, I'm still learning how to make these webinars better, and the team is helping to do that. But feel free to sign up and check back. And I hope to see you all bright and early, not bright and early, but hope to see you next week. Thank you so much for joining. And we'll share this recording out after we have a chance to clean it up. Okay, thank you everyone. Take care. Bye for now.